Hello dear Rebecas, welcome. If you've gotten yourself a new e-bike and your bike has a dropper post, then there are a few very important tips for you that you should keep in mind so you can have lasting fun with this fantastic feature over the long term. And with that, a warm welcome, dear Rebecas, to this new video where we talk about the dropper post. Yes, and I'll say right up front, I will always use the word dropper post. Certainly, what's being referred to here is this specific type of seat post, known as a dropper seat post. It also goes by other names such as telescopic seat post, dropper post, or adjustable height seat post. There are many names for this, but the fundamental working principle remains the same: a telescopic post, which means it consists of two interlocking tubes that slide into each other and are then activated using a remote control. And that's genuinely an absolutely, well, I'll say it casually, fantastic principle, because the dropper post has fundamentally transformed the way we ride bikes today, especially how we tackle mountain biking and e-mountain biking. It has already changed quite a bit. It used to be that we'd be out in the field and then suddenly the long-awaited downhill came, so the riding fun was guaranteed. But before we could plunge into the descent, we first had to come to a halt, dismount, release the quick release, or on certain bikes, even use an Allen key to open the seat clamp to then finally lower the dropper seat post into the bike frame. Nowadays, things have indeed changed a lot. We can comfortably stay in the flow of riding. It's quite easy to lower the saddle from the handlebars while riding without ever taking our hands off them. And that's really, I say it so casually, an absolutely amazing thing to have. And what you need to pay careful attention to with such a dropper post, I'd like to explain briefly. There are two essential points to remember. Firstly, when you acquire a new e-bike and are adjusting the saddle height to fit your inseam for the very first time, it's important to ensure the entire seat post is adjusted properly for the best possible comfort and performance. Therefore, you really shouldn't just adjust the saddle to the appropriate height by merely activating the telescope mode, because you'll invariably encounter the issue that occurs at the moment when you extend the post once again. The support advances to its topmost position. If that doesn't quite match the preferred seating height you're aiming for, you'll repeatedly find yourself at an unsatisfactory point. So, take the time to precisely adjust the saddle height to your ideal setting. Carefully open the clamp and set the height for optimal support and comfort. This ensures a better and more enjoyable cycling experience, allowing you to ride longer and with ease. Carefully adjust the saddle height for optimal comfort and support. Open the clamp and set it correctly. These precise adjustments can enhance your ride, boosting both comfort and efficiency for a better cycling experience. That means when you pull out the seat post, be sure to gently push the cable forward. When you lower the support, make sure to pull out the cable. Why is this important? Typically, the cable navigates through the down tube, past the motor, and then proceeds upward through the seat tube, eventually coming from below, to connect at the bottom of the dropper post. However, now, exactly down there at the very lowest point within the frame, where the motor is securely bolted to the frame at the motor interface, we have very little installation space there, and there are a few other cables running through, the shift cable, the brake cable, and that leads to friction. And now it can happen that the friction becomes so significant that when I pull out the seat post, the cable doesn't slide back automatically, but instead gets stuck due to the friction. And then if I'm not cautious and I accidentally detach the cable from the support, then of course the intended function is disrupted and unfortunately doesn't operate correctly anymore. And that's why it's very important to push the cable in, really feed the cable through when you pull out the support so it's a smooth movement and the cable is properly fed. Of course, the same principle applies in the opposite direction. If the saddle is positioned too high and you wish to lower the seat post, then push the shifter in and pull the cable out. So it's really crucial when you are adjusting the height of the saddle to always make sure to properly guide the Bowden cable. What's equally important is maintaining the correct tension of the cable. This is because otherwise you'll end up with some slack on the remote lever, which refers to the handlebar remote control. That's why, just like with the gears, it's important that the Bowden cable is properly tensioned using the knurled screw on the remote control, so that from the very first millimeter, when you push the remote lever, you also set the support in place. To wrap things up, I'll briefly and concisely give a summary. When you wish to adjust the saddle height, it's completely essential to delicately guide the cable through the frame while very carefully inserting or removing the seat post. Pulling out the seat post requires you to guide the cable into the frame. Inserting it means carefully pulling the cable out, ensuring it stays undamaged and functional. If you notice something sticking, it's really important to first ensure that the Bowden cable can slide smoothly through the frame so it can glide well within the frame. Otherwise, you might accidentally unhook the cable at the bottom when you're pulling out the support. And the second point is essentially that the cable constantly remains under tension, ensuring that you don't experience any play or slack in the remote lever here. By carefully following these two really vital key points and consistently keeping them in mind, you will surely enjoy the use of your dropper post during your e-bike rides. And that long-lasting and without any problems. With that in mind, I wish you lots of fun e-biking now. I'm Maxi from Rebike, and don't forget, if e-bike, then rebike.